Hello, folks. Welcome back to Life Chats with Friends. This is your host, Antonio Stevens. It's been a minute. I have gone through a lot of big life changes. I've moved cross country from Washington, D.C. to beautiful, sunny South California in the city that is Los Angeles. It's been an incredible transformation, living both sides of the coin, experiencing all the emotions that you can imagine. But with that awareness just comes so many opportunities for growth, for learning and development. And for that, I am so grateful. Today, I am joined here by Dr. Hava Rose. I will tell you a little bit more about Dr. Rose in a minute, but we are looking to have a really engaging, relevant, and timely discussion that is around all things, specifically here in the US, balancing the poles, balancing, global crisis that seems like it is unfolding at a rate that we just can't keep up with. Every time you turn on the TV, every time you turn on the radio, it's something else. It's breaking news. But how do you move to this place of peace, really deep inner peace, while it feels like the world may be falling apart around you? And what better person to tackle this topic in conversation with than Dr. Rose? And a little bit more about how we met. Pretty organic connection on LinkedIn. I've been sharing a lot on wellness, well-being over the course of the year. And I think that's how we connected. And then diving through her work, I was like, yes, okay, someone else that's also about this. So welcome to the show, Dr. Rose. It's so great to have you here with us today. A little bit more about Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose inspires comfort and ease within the scope of whole being and wellness. With over 12 years of experience in chiropractic medicine and over 5 years leading workshops and retreats centered around journaling as a means to foster human connection for community and corporations, Hava approaches total well-being creatively by inspiring people's highest potential through journaling, conversation, and communal connection. As a dynamic keynote speaker and the visionary founder of pause.Experience, a well-being agency, Hava curates bespoke wellness programs and immersive experiences that empower individuals and organizations. These spaces imbue alchemical transformations that allow humans, teams, and leaders to discover deeper connection to themselves and empowerment through their communities. Hava merges physical, emotional, and mental application to her workshops to bring together a whole-scale approach to wellness, which allows those attending to leave feeling more connected to themselves and those surrounding them. Hava, once again, welcome to the show. And a question actually that I like to ask all my guests, if you could tell us a little bit more about the lived experiences that have shaped your worldview or how you got to this place and interest centered around health and well-being.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me. A little bit about how I've recently announced and closed my chiropractic practice and going fully into the world of journaling and well-being for companies, organizations, and communities in that way. And just to give the through line, to bring kind of the how this all came to be and the life experience. I think the main theme that I was learning as I was practicing chiropractic medicine and connecting to so many people, I had the opportunity to do it in their homes as a house call practitioner. So I was really getting to know them on a deeper level and learning them and their families and their dynamic while physically treating them. I just recognized so much of people's physical state had everything to do with their unprocessed life. And so my goal became to make more processing spaces. And journaling was the tool because it was something I knew and I leaned on. And so it became the vehicle to help create that space. And as it's gone, it's become just more and more evident to me how vital these spaces are and how necessary it is for our humanity. And for me, it also empowered me to show me I can impact in a larger way. So if I can help people on that end, the hope is also they feel physically really good in their life, right? And they're avoiding sickness and illness because they're processing through their life as they're living it. So that's a little like brief, life experience to why I'm here now and doing what I do. So
fantastic, and power to you and anybody listening. Again, and I've mentioned this with other guests, but to have the courage to get quiet, to listen to what your calling is, and then actually move into alignment with that and get into the flow of whatever it is that you're hearing as you're kind of doing that reflection. So much power to you. Let's set the stage for folks. So I imagine everyone at home, whoever you are that may be listening to this, as you've been watching the news, specifically here in the US, it's a lot. And I want to get into that. So what's happening, Hava? What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Again, not just here in the US, but globally. We know the election is happening, literally breaking news by the minute. What's happening? Where do you think people are right now?
I think people are lost. I think people are disconnected. I think people are looking for answers in places that no longer have answers. And I think overall what's happening is it's a shedding. Like as metaphorical as that is, it's a mass shedding that I think is a reflection of where a lot of the work, both personally and collectively, has been happening. And it's like we're ready for something new. We've been ready, but I think it's become a collective ready and not just like small hubs ready. I have to admit, I'm excited to talk about this with you today. And also to note, I keep a distance from, I don't consume as much as a lot of people around me. I stay in tune, but I'm not as up to date minute by minute purposefully. But I'm aware of the collective of what's going on. And this is it's a shedding, a mass shedding. And I think it's a going back to like our primal human needs almost. And really there's a reflection massively happening of like humanity. Like what is humanity? What makes us human? What is something that we no longer can carry the weight of? And the systems cannot withstand the collective awakening that's been happening. It's not like it just happened. It's just,
Do you think this is a quickening of the awakening that is happening globally?
Yeah. I do. I think it's kind of like when you see the graph and there's an exponential growth of something, it's like it's here, trickle, and then all of a sudden, I think it is. It's like it's hit that parameter where now it's like you can't unsee what we've been seeing, you can't unlearn what we've been learning, you can't, there's no going back. And it's challenging a lot of the systems that are rooted in what was, right? The reality is there, so it's a lot of friction going on. Yeah.
And when I think about humanity too, and kind of where we are, this like sense of separateness or just extreme divisiveness, like at our core, if I kind of come way out and I think about this like at a soul level, like it's not meant to be this way. I think over the years, as societies and as people, like we've just been growing further and further apart. And I think we're getting to a place where it's like Actually, we're meant to be coming this way. Like connection is at the core of at the core of human nature. And question for you, like as we're thinking about connection or thinking about, moving back to this place of like the core of who we really are, why is it important that people in general should be thinking about their health and well-being? Or why is it important to kind of reframe what's happening despite all the chaos? Like the peace actually lives within, and if we turn within and take care of what we need to take care of, or address what we need to address, recognizing that that is actually the start of the change that we're all seeking, or that is the beginning of moving from this place of confusion, of stress, of dread, of despair, into this place of peace, hope, whatever you want to call it, prosperity, abundance.
For me, connection is well-being. Like it's not different. And it's hard because as humans, there is the deepest rooted need to belong, which is connect, right? And we're living in a world, and it's interesting for me, again, not being super immersed in it, but kind of always having a more wide scope lens of what's going on. And you can see the need of sense of belonging in just culturally groups of people sticking together and amplifying voices now for their people, whatever that looks like, our month celebrations month, like all of these like elements and people coming together and backing their people. And it's beautiful to see. And I think what people don't understand at a deeper level is that collective also can amplify division. And what happens is we have a sense of belonging within a space, but at a greater whole, there's a lack of sense of belonging for majority of humans. My philosophy of wellness and whole well-being, right, is the idea of connection of all of your bodies. So to start with self, right? If your physical, your mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, if they are disconnected, you by default are disconnected.
Yep.
And that's when you can be influenced much more easily, right? And that's when you start to find, people acting in ways, or influenced either by emotions acting out, or influenced by what other people are telling them, and it becomes, because people want to belong, they act how they need to act, and often lose their self in the process, or lose sight of connection.
I mean, you have to be present to be able to make meaningful connections that are of substance, and also to be able to see the other person so that they feel understood and that they feel valued. And that's where change happens. And I think where we currently are right now is we're kind of like speaking past each other, and a lot of people don't feel seen. A lot of people don't feel heard. A lot of people don't feel valued. I feel like it's very black and white. It's like, you're wrong, I'm right. And I do also think that's kind of interesting. And I've read a lot of spiritual things that share philosophies and ideologies on like what this life is. And basically the essence of those things are that this life is, a paradox. Like it's the yin and yang, kind of black and white. And I do think we're kind of living that right now, but we are on far ends of the extreme of yin and yang. But how do we get back to equilibrium? And I think there are enough people that want to get back to equilibrium, but they just don't know how or where to start. And there are just so many distractions, like the news, like the technology, your cell phone. Like there's so many distractions, and people just don't know where to start. They'd rather tune out.
Yeah, And it's not, I think it's not even like they'd rather tune out. They just, this is how it is, you know?
Mm,
And I agree. I think there's more people than ever that want, that desire this. But also, so many people don't understand to the root of connection and rooting. How do I actually find that peace within, that wholeness within, so that I can show up in the world unwavering
mm,
and understanding myself so deeply that someone else's action, thoughts, beliefs don't shift me and allow me
mm.
to stay rooted while being open, you know, and while
That's
being in reception.
self-love.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I've been watching that. This like purple light on it is like, yeah. Um, so yeah, I do think more than ever people want it.
And you talked about, or at the beginning of this, and also read this in your bio, but journaling being, a big part of the practice that you kind of stand by in your philosophy. How can people use personal reflection or, something like journaling to stay grounded during tumultuous times or during times of, political divide or global uncertainty?
Well, journaling just as a reflective tool can be really powerful, right? And so in these times it becomes that much more powerful. And it's an opportunity. There's a saying I have that I use in many places I step into, is the idea of connection before consumption.
Mm,
And it's an opportunity for you to, one, clear out like the chaos and the distractions that are live within you. It's an opportunity to like brain dump and just kind of like, it's a lot. We take in a lot through our day. There's so much consumption. And so, one, I think it's a really powerful tool to create more space and clarity as the day is. But it's an opportunity for you to like question yourself in these times. Like, what do I believe? What do I want to see in the world? And it's a place for you to actually see your thoughts. Because
mm,
thinking them is beautiful, but when you have them written down, there's a level of validity that happens, and it becomes a reference point for you to see what's going on in your head
mm,
and to be in a conversation with yourself, really. And it's beautiful, of course, when you do it in community, which is how my workshops operate, because then you get to have a space to reference and a place to reference your thoughts in a conversation, and you don't feel maybe less, your defenses come down a bit because it becomes more of that dialogue. But it's really beautiful to be in conversation with yourself during these times as a way to get clear on what you believe outside of what's happening around you and what other people are doing. And it's a really powerful way for you to create this bridge of connection with yourself,
mm.
to start to find where you're rooted, where your center is. And you can see your thoughts, which also can help you be like, wait, do I really think that? Because I mean, we can think a lot of things that we don't really believe.
Mm.
And it's like clear, like, what of this is legit for me and what of this is just like a thought that's passing, right?
I think
So
too, like, how do you leverage something like journaling or bringing thoughts, words from your head onto paper, making them something more tangible, but also like back to the question of like, who am I and why am I
mm-hmm.
here? What do I want? Why am I doing this, or why am I thinking this way? To your point, like that conversation, or even being able to look at something and read it out aloud, and that kind of makes it real. Like,
Yeah.
where am I going? What's happening? Using that as some kind of compass in your experience.
So I'm someone that's kept journals. I have all of my journals pretty much. So I think it's a beautiful thing when you have this place of reference and reflection that's tangible, that you can consistently be in that question of yourself, because we're ever evolving, right? And to be able to also navigate your own warfare and to navigate your own internal conflicts and your own internal dialogues that can be traumatic, and to navigate the experiences that you've had personally that can be traumatic outside of the world, right? And to use that as a point of understanding yourself better, recognizing behaviors and patterns, and seeing what things may trigger you or how you react to certain things. A lot of that is revealed in the journaling, and when you keep them and not burn them. A lot of people love burning their journals. Here for it, I understand it, but I actually think it's a really powerful way to stay in alignment with who you're evolving into and questioning yourself and dealing with the turmoil that lives within, because we all have our own. And if you're able to, I will say, come to peace with the warfare and the conflicts and the turmoil that's within you, whoa, wow. You're stepping into the world and confronting that in a very different way. You know? Yes. And so I think this is where a lot of this journaling power lies, in specifically these times. It's like, you know, a lot of us are showing up and acting out and responding from a place of suffering already, like having nothing to do even with the world. But not everyone understands that.
What other practical tools do you have, or even like a simple exercise? Like, how does one move from this place of like unconscious action to like conscious awareness? Like conscious awareness and how they're behaving, or emotions that are driving certain behaviors, or even that, like the core of it, just like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And how are these emotions driving my behaviors, not just with myself or how I'm treating myself, how I'm thinking, but also behaviors with others that they may be connecting with as well.
I think the most powerful tool to practice in building more self-awareness is pausing. Literally, like, I mean, in the beginning it might feel like a robot, like I gotta take a pause, but really taking pauses through your day and becoming, I would say, leaning into the idea of becoming an observer of your life a little bit more than the controller. And that might feel like really broad, what I just shared. So, but that can be done in many ways, right? It could be taking 3 deep breaths every hour. It could be setting like boundaries around your phone time use, like not opening your phone before 10 a.m. if that's, you know, like setting time that you're not with your technology. It could be taking a 20-minute nap at 3 p.m.
I love midday naps. I'm here for them.
I'm like learning to like them more. But so there's little things that can be. It can be something of, 10 seconds. It could be a 30-minute thing. It could be hours. But starting to incorporate pauses in your day to allow yourself to become an observer of your own life a little bit more, and to tap into other bodies that maybe you don't. So if you're someone that's always intellectualizing and analyzing, like maybe your pause is revolved around breathing to get into your body, and like, or if you're someone that feels a lot, this is me, someone that feels a lot, maybe it's the nap. Maybe it's the nap to kind of shut the systems down. To give yourself a 20-minute reset, but this is also the idea of connecting the bodies, right? But the bigger thing, I think, that so many of us move through life without even a second to be present in it. And it's because we're either on autopilot or just moving at the rate that, like, we're not meant to. We're meant to be also in slow motion. Think about hunter-gatherers, like, there are sprints that happen for sure, but then there's like nothingness.
Rest period. We need rest.
Rest, exactly. And as humans in today's world,
Mm.
there is rarely nothingness, and it's hard to find rest. But I think that a lot of that's self-inflicted.
One of a practice that I recently came across, which I love and excited to share with this audience, people listening, is it's a weekly self-love practice or self-love challenge. And essentially what it is, it's carving out 3 hours a week for yourself. And it's taking the time to figure out what combination of activities works for you to keep you whole, to keep you balanced, to help you find inner peace, to help you sleep at night. And that could be a massage, that could be going to the park, it could be sitting under a tree, it could be, to your point, journaling, it could be time for yourself. Like, they're kind of figuring out, like, how do you create your own adventure to wellness. Dr. Rose, is there a brief practice we can try? And I know you'd mentioned breathing, but thinking about your workshops, I would love to create the space here to do a mini brief practice. Like, this could be the pause for anybody listening in your day right now. Take a seat wherever you are. If you're on
Yeah.
your walk, tune in, tap in.
Yeah.
We're going to do the practice right now. Quick pause.
Okay, quick pause. I'm going to give us a little bit of a guided meditation visualization, and leave you with a journal prompt that you can maybe write down later, or write down now after we do it, and then you can journal later after you finish our chat. So if you're walking, you could keep walking, steady your pace. If you're sitting, get a little comfy, maybe give a little slouch sometimes, just to like relax your muscles that have been holding you up all day long. Taking a deep breath in through your nose, and on the exhale, bringing your eyes, looking down or closing them. Starting to sync your breath with your belly. So every breath in, your belly expands, filling with new oxygen, new ideas, new possibilities. Sighing out through your mouth, releasing anything that's been burdening you, feeling weighted, feeling heavy. Deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly again with all of the newness, the richness, the positivity, the light. Sighing out anything that feels heavy, old, constricting. And on this breath in, next breath in, your belly fills, and breathe in, imagining a light glowing and growing inside your belly. This exhale out, imagining this light in your belly, coming back closer to your spine, closer to your core, shrinking but never fading. And with each breath in, allowing that light to expand, to grow beyond your belly, up to your heart, down to your feet. Sighing back, bringing that light closer to your core, shrinking it but never leaving you. And you can find your flow of breath, imagining again with each inhale, this light expands, leaning into every part of your body, lighting you up, and every exhale, shrinking back to your core. Reminding you that you have a light that is eternally lit within you. And if you take the moment in your day to take these big breaths in, you allow yourself to ignite that light, to shine that light internally first. And with each exhale, as your light comes back to your spine, you share that light on your breath out with those around you. So deep breath in, expand that light once more, internally within first. And on this exhale, imagine yourself breathing this light out to the surroundings, sharing your light with every breath, sharing your light first within and then without. And there's a question that I would love to leave with you as you breathe in this light. When do I feel most present? When do I feel most in tune with my light? And take one big breath in, breathing, expanding, thinking about the presence when you feel this light throughout your body. Exhale, coming back to yourself, sharing this light with that around you. Slowly, slowly, coming back to this space, thinking about when you feel this most often. When do I feel most present? When do I feel my light? And trusting that you always have this light within you, eternally glowing, growing, always.
Beautiful.
Welcome back.
Thank you. And I hope you all feel a little bit better having gone through that. And I do hope that you find it could be 5-10 minutes when you get back from your walk or as you're sitting, if you're at your desk, flipping the page and really tapping into those journal prompts and leveraging those prompts again as a starting place. It could be for a broader practice, as I'd mentioned, that self-love practice. What are the things that you're going to do 3 hours a week to really get you to that place where you feel present, where you feel your light? Again, for me, it could be sitting at the park. It could be dancing where nothing else matters and you are just totally here, doing what you're doing and being your full and authentic self. Dr. Rose, as we're thinking about self-reflection or the practice of turning inward during turbulent times, during political moments, global crisis, war, etc., what's your advice for people that may be coming at it from different viewpoints, different cultures? As I'd mentioned, kind of tapping into different spiritual practices.
Yeah.
What could this look like for someone, for example, that's on the other side of the globe?
I think it goes back to the motto of like connection before consumption. And I think that this sometimes gets, thanks to the wellness trend, we love the wellness trend, but it often can be overcomplicated. And going inward could be something as simple as waking up and speaking gratitude for the opening of your eyes. It could be sitting with a loved one and just saying how much you appreciate them, as much as sharing, like connecting to how you feel about something and expressing it, right? Going inward could be closing a door if you have one and sitting for 3 minutes with yourself. And I think it goes back to the idea of pause. Like, how do we create that stillness in a hectic time, in an unpredictable time, to just be, to kind of just, and it, like I said, it doesn't have to be for more than 3 minutes. How do we just find a way to close our eyes, even if it's 30 seconds, to be with ourselves, without the external, without the other people, without the world, headlines, without all of that's going on around us? How do we do that? And I think if we're able to give ourselves even just that 30 seconds of being, it becomes a possibility that we can carry that level of inwardness and presence more and more. But it's a practice. And I think that as wild as the world is, we are the makeup of it. And if we don't do it for ourselves, then like, how is anything going to shift? And so again, I think and I'm just thinking now more conceptually about, all over the world and the state of what's going on in other countries, that let's not neglect to say, I want to say it, as terrible as some things are in America, we are so privileged.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that this could be a whole nother talk, but it's hard for me sometimes to see the cursing of of our country. And I'm like, we also have so much privilege here. And so to be in appreciation, but like also being in appreciation. And I'm thinking about around the world where people don't have the privilege and the fortunes that we have here.
And basic human rights.
Exactly. As messed up as some of these systems are, and as how outdated they are, and how unsupportive they feel. There is so much. And so I think about that, and thinking about when you shared, like, what is something that can be done even across the globe. And I'm like, wow, silence is probably not something that's accessible in some places right now. But to also just think, like, if people around the world had that, even just 30 seconds to sit, maybe it's not silent, but to sit with themselves without communication, without any digital, without any reading, without any music. The idea of like connection before consumption is, I think, the key to a lot of that inwardness. And it's a practice, though. It's not something that's going to happen naturally in our world today. Like, you have to be disciplined and practice it.
And I imagine our guests as well, as we continue to collectively move through these turbulent times, really, to your point again, Dr. Rose, like, there's so much that we can be doing to find peace. We just have to be intentional about it. And so I challenge all of you to get into that space, get into that flow where you can really hear yourself above all else, and recognize that this too, like everything else, shall pass. And you can be a part of that passing, or part of our collective evolution, our collective transformation, simply by taking care of yourself. It doesn't have to be these grand acts of, just getting out and protesting, or just getting out and, firing to the polls and this and social media. Like, it really, there's so much value in taking care of you first. And if we are collectively able to bring our best to our interactions, bring our best to, engagements, as we're speaking to each other, as we're trying to figure out how we navigate our differences, again, in the details, like, that is really where the change happens. That is really how we shift perceptions over time. So many great insights shared here today. And thank you, Dr. Rose. Before we go, I do have some rapid fire questions for you. This is one of my most exciting favorite parts of the show, just getting to hear what people share. But to kick us off, if you could have a dinner conversation with any historical figure about personal growth, who would it be and why?
I never met my maternal grandmother. So not a historical figure, but someone I never met. So I would love to learn just like more about my family, of like, especially generationally, how they navigated. So I would love to have met her. I was named for her, and asked her about her journey. That's like one person, not historical. Historical. Wow. I think I would be curious more, like Salvador Dali's coming to mind, or Frida Kahlo. Like, I think for me, I would love to talk to some of these incredible like artists about personal growth, and like, I mean, just the art alone. As Frida is someone I would adore to be in conversation with about her journey and her personal growth. she's someone actually that's now more clearly coming to. I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have talked to that woman. Yeah.
What's a personal mantra or quote that keeps you centered during tough times?
Okay, so I had found this years ago in a like tumultuous breakup. I actually have like an abbreviation tattooed on my wrist of it. So
Ooh.
yeah, it looks like funny because I can't like show you. Anyway, it's a Buddha saying. It's in only three things matter in life. I have to look at something. How much you love, how gently you live, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you.
Say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, only three things matter in life: how much you love, how gently you live, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you.
Beautiful. I'm going to put that on my wall. And that last one is much harder than it sounds.
I know. I think people see it on my wrist and they're like, live, love, laugh. And I'm like, no, not laugh. Let go.
What are you reading or listening to right now that you'd highly recommend?
Well, I am a multiple book at a time person. I'm currently hard book reading, a book called All In. It's a serial entrepreneur. His name is Bill Green. I recently visited his winery in Jersey. He has this beautiful farm and winery. And someone was telling me he had a book, and I was like, so he's built many, many businesses and like in extreme ways. And so I'm like in that journey of business. So that's inspiring just to read someone else's like entrepreneurial spirit. Also listening to I might like look at the name of the book because I don't want to misquote it. It's a money book.
Okay.
Again, you can see I'm in my business girl era, trying to get everything right. What is the book name? Because I don't want to mess it up. Audiobook. The Algebra of Wealth.
Nice.
A simple formula for financial security. That's an audiobook I'm listening to.
Awesome. And I can add these in the show notes as well for anybody listening. I'll add title and author in the show notes.
And then I just finished Everyday Grace by Marianne Williamson.
Beautiful.
And I'm awaiting books in the mail. New ones. I gotta get some fiction back in there, so.
Awesome. What's the most unexpected lesson you've learned from your self-reflection practice and journey this year?
This year. Whew, I've been learning a lot this year. I think an unexpected lesson that I've been learning, or like moment of self-awareness, I would say. I've recently restarted therapy. So there's been a lot coming up, and something I recognize somewhat recently was actually the amount of self-doubt that I have and the lack of trust in myself that I didn't recognize was there. So I'm certainly in a place of really trying to build my trust within, specifically around decision making. So that was like shock. I was like, because I'm out here doing it all the time. So it was like shocking. I was like, maybe this is why I don't make decisions well. Like, ask me what I want to eat, can tell you. So there's a lot of decision work I'm working on right now, and building that trust in my decisions.
And where can people find you? Where can they learn more about you, your website, social handles, and for any benefits or well-being corporate professionals that may be listening that might be interested in working with you or learning more about your workshops, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place is going to be at LinkedIn or Instagram, which is both Hava Rose, or Instagram is hava.rose. And LinkedIn Hava Rose, and my website is shiny and bright, and you can check me out there. It's at www.drhavarose, so drhavarose.com. I'm always happy to be in conversation around these things, so certainly DM me or send me a message on LinkedIn. Always down to connect.
Awesome. And I'll add all of that in the show notes as well. Dr. Rose, any final parting words we drop off?
Oh, just sending so much love and ease and grace to everyone, and may you also grant that to yourself. So thank you, Antonio, for having me.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next month.